Hey guys, so in this lecture we are going to be covering object properties. So properties are the most important part for any JavaScript object. In the previous lecture we saw on how the objects are created, how the properties are, how the methods are. We'll dig deep into what JavaScript properties are in this lecture. Now properties are nothing but the values associated with the JavaScript object. A JavaScript object is a collection of unordered properties. So there's no order to it. So when we create a person, which is variable person is equals to, let's say, first name equals John. I can create an age, which is 30. I can create last name, which is Doe. And I can create eye color, which is blue. And that's it. So there's no restriction on how the order should be. So it's all unordered. And then properties can usually be changed, added or deleted, which means you can do everything. Add, change or delete. So for instance, I just added these four properties to the object person, which is first name, age, last and eye color. Now what if I want to change the property? Well, before even changing and deleting the properties, let's see there are three different ways of accessing the properties. So let's say now I created the person. Now what are the three different ways of accessing a property? The first one is object name dot property, which we have already seen and we have already been using. So it will be like something person dot first name. That's the first approach. The other one is object name. And then instead of doing this, you just give the property name in quotes, property. Let's say this will be person dot, there's no dot needed. Here we will give first name. So the result should be the same. There's a third one, which is object name. And then you give an expression. And what is an expression? Well, an expression is nothing but you assign a value. So let's say you create a variable x is equals to age. That's your first statement, and then you say person of x. So that's how you can get with the expression. So these are the three approaches with which you can get the object. So one, let me put some, two, and I will give this three. Okay, so these are three different ways of getting the object, reading the object properties. We can easily do that using console log. So let's do a console log and try all these three. Person dot first name. Let's do the last name in the next one. Instead of this, let's give the quote, which is the property name as a string. And then instead of first, let's make this last. And then let's also do for person dot age rather than person of x, and x is age. Let's create that. Variable x is equals to string literal of age. Now let's close the output, open the console, and let's run it. So you can see John, Doe and 30. So that's how you can access an object property. There is also another way of accessing an object property, and that's probably what we've covered in the for in lecture, where you want to have a for loop. So for variable in object, and then what this will do is this will give you variable. Variable is nothing but all the properties that are belonging to that particular object. Code in to be executed. Well, let me actually give this a block comment because this entire thing is a complete for loop syntax. Okay, so let's try to see this example. We've already seen this in the for in lecture, but I'll do it again. So let's try to create a variable for y in person, and then you can just create another variable text is equals to, well, we don't need to give anything to text. Let's just give it a variable, and then text plus equals to person of x. Let's just add some space to it. So text plus equals to some space after it, because that will give you a better output. And let's try to do console log of text. Let's clear this. Let's run this. Not a number, 30, 30, 30. Well, because X is already created, so this has to be Y. Sorry, my bad. Okay, now that we have text, I just need to make sure that the initial value is assigned to something. So let's just assign an empty string. Now let's just clear this. Let's run it. And you should get John 30 Doe Blue, because that's the order in which I designed my list. Now if I change this order, the order should change even in my output, because the loop will just go over the properties and there's no order because we do not give any order. Okay, so that's how you can use a foreign loop to actually loop through the properties of a particular object. Now that we have seen how to read and how to use a particular object and its property, let's try to see how we can add a new property. So let's try to add a new property to the person object. Let's say person dot nationality is equals to English. Yeah, it's an English person or English man. Okay, now let's try to do the same thing. Well, we can just do a person. Let's do a person dot nationality and see what the answer would be. And the answer is English. So I very easily added the person nationality to the person object. Now what if I want to delete the same nationality? Or probably I want to delete the age. So there is one keyword, it's called delete, and then you give the name of the object and then the name of the property. So let's try to delete the age, and then let's try to output the person object. Let me just try and do person. Let's see what comes up on the console. Okay, so you can see age is gone. We don't have age anymore. There are some important things you need to note about the delete keyword. The delete keyword deletes both the value of the property and the property itself. So you can see age as well as its value both got deleted. After deletion, the property cannot be used before it is added back again. So unless you do something like person.age again, you cannot use person.age for any further action. The delete operator is designed to be used on object properties. It has no effect on variables or functions. So this delete keyword will have no effect on variables or functions. It's only basically designed for the object properties. The delete operator should not be used for predefined JavaScript object properties. It can crush your application. So if you are using delete command, make sure you're very careful. Just like the X mark when you have a window closing, you use it carefully and cognizantly. So make sure you do that same with the delete operator if you're using. So we saw the objects, the way they are created, read, as well as added or updated. Now there are some attributes of a particular property. So all properties have a name. In addition, they also have a value, which is the name value pair we've been talking about. The value is one of the property's attributes. So again, the value is also one of the property's attributes. Other attributes are enumerable, configurable, and writable. These attributes define how the property can be accessed, or basically how it's read or written. In JavaScript, all the attributes can be read, but only the value attribute can be changed. So there are other attributes associated with this field, but you can only update the value attribute. The rest of the attributes are more internal to JavaScript. And those attributes are something like enumerable, configurable, and writable. Okay, so these are some internal properties for every particular property or attribute, but we only update the value. Now ECMAScript 5, which is the newer version of JavaScript, has methods for getting and setting all the property attributes. So till plain JavaScript or before ECMAScript, these were not even being able to fetch or read, but now they can be easily done using getters and setters. So that was all about properties. I'll see you in the next class where we cover the object methods.